Hi, welcome to In a Pickle Knitting. My name is Donna, and this is a podcast about knitting, and today I have some sewing as well. I'm coming to you from the Manassas part of Northern Virginia in the U.S. Today is Wednesday, June 12th, 2019. Today I have, I think, just one finished object, several works in progress, some sewing, our fiber-related children's literature book, a winner of the 6,000 subscriber giveaway, and I think that's probably about it. Let's go ahead and get started, and I will start with that first little finished object. I recently found out that a very dear friend of mine's daughter is having her first child, and it's to be a little girl. And for some reason, I find it so much fun to make things for little girls. So I am making a variety of different things that I can give to her when the baby's born and if she, when she has a baby shower. The first thing that I made that is finished is a pair of baby booties. And these are, have a little crossover straps. The little buttons do open, or you can unbutton here, so there's a tiny buttonhole at the tip of each one of the straps. The pattern that I used, I will put the name up here. I'm not sure how to pronounce this. This was a free pattern and still is a free pattern available on Ravelry. I did make some modifications to it. The modifications were to make them smaller. I had made this pattern before and did see newborn baby, which I was hoping these were newborn size, newborn baby in them, and they were swimming. And of course, you know, babies have different size feet, but I decided they needed to be smaller. And so I've put on my project page just more for my reference. So I'm not saying it's going to be something that you could go and look at and totally figure out what to do, but what I did to make these smaller. So they came out nice and tiny. The yarn that I am using, or did use, is this yarn here. It is by Ella Ray. It's Cashmerino Sport is the name of the yarn, and the color is quartz, which is obviously a slightly bit off-white. When I made these before, I made them out of Debbie Bliss Cashmerino. And I purchased it at the Yarn Cloud in Occoquan, Virginia, one of my local yarn shops. So I wanted to go back, and I knew I wanted to do it in a white. And the salesperson told me that it was no longer being produced by Debbie Bliss Company, but now it is by Ella Ray. And they had it. When I read the fiber content, it is identical, and it's very hard for me to see. It's gray print on white, but it's 55% merino wool, 33% acrylic, and 12% cashmere. It knits up very nicely. It's soft as can be. It is a DK weight. I felt for some reason just looking at it that the plumpness looked thinner. Let me see. I think. Sorry, I'm not sure where I did put the other skein, but I held them side by side, and it seemed like this was a tiny bit thinner, but it was the same number of meters per grams in they're 50-gram balls. I bought 4 of them because that's not the only thing I'm making, but I think it's knitting up the same, so that was probably just a color difference, optical illusion on my part. So that's my only finished object. But I have been working on a lot, even though I just don't have anything finished yet. I am making also a sweater. And this is the same, so I have made this sweater before. It's called the Seamless Yoked Cardigan, I believe, or baby sweater. Any of my projects, I keep a project page on Ravelry. I will link those below the video here, so if you click on that little arrow, it should come up with some clickable links that you could go to the project page to see the actual name. This was a free pattern on Ravelry, and as the name says, it's seamless, so it's knit in the round in one piece. It's not knit in the round in one piece. It's knit in one piece. You're on a circular needle, but you're knitting back and forth. I have just separated for the sleeves here. So you can see here, these are set aside for a sleeve, and these are set aside for a sleeve. I am to the point where I'm just knitting stockinette till the bottom of the sweater, and then there's a few garter rows. Sorry, I'm not looking in the right place. So the bottom will be like this so that it doesn't roll. You'll notice there's this decorative stitch that happens 3 times across the yoke, and that stitch hides the increases. I did make modification, I think, on the other one that I made, whereby I either added these rows at the bottom, or I took them off, or I added them to the sleeve. But you can just repeat this again, and I'm thinking of not putting it on the sleeves this time. If the pattern called for it, I'm not going to do it. I'm actually going to make the sleeves smaller because, again, I knit this for a baby, and I noted that they had rolled the sleeves up, so I thought I'm just going to make the sleeve a little bit shorter with this garter. That's a lot of chatter about this little sweater. Another thing, I know it calls for more buttonholes, maybe 5, and I only did 2 before. I'm only doing 2 now. Let's see, there's maybe there it is. There's one little one here, and then another one here, not quite at the end of the yoke. For me, that's all I think you need to button up on the baby cardigan. So this matches the booties, same yarn. And then I will also make a hat, but I have not started that yet. Last time I was able to get a hat, booties, and the sweater out of 3 skeins, but I needed like this much out of a 4th, so that's why I bought 4. So let's see, that is my first work in progress, which is the baby sweater. I also am making a blanket for the same baby. It is the same blanket that I made for my grandson. It is called, I didn't write it down. I think it's called Hooded Baby Blanket. The pattern is by James C. Brett. And again, that will be linked if you just go to the pink blanket. The difference is that for my grandson's blanket, I used the James Brett yarn, which is a chenille yarn. It comes in the same weight, but this works up smaller. So I only used 2 for his blanket, and so far I've gone through 2. I just am at the end of the second one, and I will use probably all of this 3rd one. So it's Bella Chenille by Universal Yarn. I purchased it at another local yarn shop to me, Needles in the Haymarket. It was very inexpensive for $20 and some change. I purchased the 3 skeins, which will be enough to finish the blanket. As I said, I'm 2/3 done because I've used 2 of the 3 skeins. And here it is. It is just a big square. It's supposed to then have a hood on the edge like you might see on the baby towels, but I didn't put that on his blanket, and I'm not putting it on this one either. It is called double moss stitch, but I've read 2 different ways of doing double moss stitch on a pattern. It doesn't really look like it because for some reason the way the chenille knits up, I think it almost looks like woven fabric, but it's so soft. And I know that my grandson's is 4 years old and has been washed close to 1,000 times. It's nowhere, and it looks nowhere near like this anymore, but it still has held up. So knock on wood, this one, if it's enjoyed by the child, it will hold up as well, I hope, because it is a different brand yarn, but just exactly as squishy. I cast on the number of stitches they said, which was in the 70s someplace, and it measured out 33 inches. So I want to make a square. I need to knit it to be 33 inches. I've used 2 of the 3 skeins and I have 22 inches, so I think I'll use every bit of the yarn. It's been fun to knit. This is totally mindless knitting because it's so simple. You just have to keep track of where you are because it's hard for me to look at these stitches. It's not like knitting with regular yarn for me. It doesn't quite look right. So I just keep track of the 4-row repeat and where I am on it so I don't make a mistake and do the same row twice, which I could easily do. Well, have done. Did once, took it out. I don't want to have to keep doing that. So that's my second work in progress. The third work in progress, I did show you the last time. I had just started the Shawl Society 3, so the 4th year of the Shawl Society from Curious Handmade, the first shawl of this year, and it's called the Sea Gleam Shawl. I'm using Adelaide Cottage yarn in the Lorelei's Dream colorway. This shawl takes 2 skeins, and that's what I have. This is a yarn that has the gold stellina, or sparkly stuff, whatever it's called. So at this point, I am just over 50%. I did 50%, and then I think I did 1 or 2 more rows after that. I'm going to show it to you upside down. It's a little over 300 stitches on the needles right now. I'm using the recommended size needle, which I think was a US 6. This is the top. The top is garter stitch and then garter stitch with holes, lace. And then it goes to a separating row, and this is the second part, which is stockinette with the same holes, and then the third part is a lace border. So no, it's hard to see, but you probably can get an idea of the color better than the last time. I did switch skeins when I did this row to go to the stockinette section. I switched skeins, but I don't see any difference at all. I thought if there was a difference in the skeins, that changing the texture would minimize that, and it either has or there really is no difference in them. So that's coming along really well, and as I said, it's Adelaide Cottage yarn, and I will link any yarns down below the video. I haven't given this as I could have been done most likely, but I just started with these baby things and that kind of took over. So this went several days with no work being done on it. But it's very, very, very easy pattern. And of course, like any other Helen Stewart pattern, you have a check off row for every row and stitch count for every row, so you always know where you are. I just check mark right on my pattern. And I really like that she has taken her system, and it's using less paper now, because I always thought you don't need that whole width of the paper, and so she's cut it down and is using 2 columns, and so that was just absolutely perfect for me because it uses a little bit less paper. I do always print those patterns out. And let's see, the next thing I have that's a work in progress are my June Desert Vista Dyeworks socks. Not too far along, but I'll have time to finish before the end of the month. We're not halfway to the end, and I'm not halfway done with socks, but so I need to really move along on here. I am only at decreasing for the gusset. I've done about 2 rows past picking up the gusset stitches. The colorway is called No Soggy Bottoms, which is a Great British Bake Off reference, and that is my all-time favorite show ever. I've watched them all multiple times, those that I can get, because of course in the US you have to wait, and then hopefully Netflix or PBS picks them up, and but I have watched them all many times. I don't get the reference being with this colorway. It must have had some sort of picture. I didn't see the reference picture, but it doesn't matter because I like the colors. There's pinks, and the navy and whites are my favorites, and then the this little bit of orange thrown in here. So this looks like a large stripe that kind of gradiates. It's really 3 different colors there, though when you're knitting it's hard to tell these 2 apart. And then this is a pretty green, kind of a seafoam green. I'm making a shorter leg on this one and a longer cuff for whoever knows what reason. But I'm so mad at myself because this was a skein that I bought a coordinating mini and I forgot to use it. So I'll use it for something else, but I just started knitting like I do with socks. I totally don't even think about them. I just sit and do it. So let's see, that's my 4 things that I am working on that were knitting related. Let's go ahead and do our children's literature book here. Gonna reach for it. Today's book is called The 3 Billy Goats Fluff instead of The 3 Billy Goats Bluff, and it's by Rachel Mortimer, illustrated by Liz Picton, no, not Pickle, not sure. The illustrations are adorable. They just appeal to me so much with the colors and just the whimsical nature of everything here. Just love these curly horns. It's just an adorable book, and it follows the 3 Billy Goats gruff. The little lambs are trip-trapping over the bridge, and they wake the troll, and he is there's lots of like little hidden humor, but here is the troll. Isn't he cute? Their solution to the problem is unique. Then Mama Sheep sits and does some knitting. I'm going to show you that illustration there. Lots and lots of little detail. And you'll see she's knitting booties. So they're going to wear these booties to go over the bridge, and then they won't wake the troll because he's not getting good sleep since he moved under this bridge. He got like sold a bill of goods and isn't really thrilled with this place, and he keeps getting woke up. But additionally, she knits him up some earmuffs so it's quieter, and a blanket, and it's just a really, really cute retell with the knitting and the fluff from the goats aspect. So I think you would love this book, The 3 Billy Goats Fluff. And this is in paperback. I got it off Amazon, and there'll be a link below to check it out if you want to read a little bit more about it or see a little bit more of it. So there is our fiber-related children's literature book for today. And on that topic, I was looking at my little stack here of books that I started off with a relatively large stack of books, and I see I'm down to about, it was 12 or 13 books, and I've got 2 that are potential on order. So I'm getting lower on those books, so I don't know what'll happen when I actually run out. We'll have to wait and see if I'll have to lose that segment, because I know there are quite a few people who do say that is a favorite part of the podcast for them, and I know it is for me as well. So hopefully when I actually run out, there'll be some new ones, or I'll find some new things to do. And then I have been doing quite a bit of sewing. The first thing I want to show you is a quilt top. Now, quilting is not something that I do sewing, and I feel confident sewing. Quilting, I work so hard to cut my pieces accurately. I work so hard to pin everything accurately and to try to sew it accurately, but I always have to blame somebody else. It's the fabric, I tell you. I've got even feed dog on my machine. That was one reason I bought a new machine, so that thinking, maybe that would help. But my piecing is not perfect. And I'm okay with that. I just wish that it was, because I work hard to try to do that. Maybe I just need lots and lots more practice. But I am making a baby quilt, and I found a pattern. Initially, I found it through Pinterest and went to the link, and it was supported. It was one of those that didn't just go in nowhere. It actually went to a blog called Diary of a Quilter, and her name is Amy Smart, and this is just something I printed up so I would have it there. It's called the Lattice Baby Quilt Tutorial, and she takes you through how much fabric you need and what pieces to cut from all the fabrics, how to piece it, and so I followed that. But I guess part of the problem is I had bought this charm pack, 2 charm packs of the same 2 sets of the same fabrics, and I had a little idea in my mind, but then decided to do this, which it worked for. I had more than enough of everything that I needed. But these, let me see if I can find, here's one right here. These particular ones that I purchased have a really large zigzag edge, and I think that's part of my piecing problem is I'm not sure exactly what to do. Should I cut all of that off and start with a different size piece? I don't know. I think that really impacts me piecing any better. So maybe I'd have been better just to cut the squares out myself, but I never think I am going to be. At any rate, this is, I'll fold it up, but it's supposed to be this on point, so it going diagonal with the white strips being the lattice. And I will put a picture here. I can show you. All I've done is the top. I also need to have binding strip on there and then, you know, sandwich it and all the quilting stuff. But I'll put a picture here so you can see. I didn't measure it, so it's whatever size. It's because I just think it's too hard to hold up here. I can hold out a little bit more. The problem is my squares are not square, and the way you did it one way and then you pieced the other way, I couldn't make them square because they were already, I'd done the biggest way. They are squares, but don't ask me. I'm not a quilter. I just think they're beautiful, and I think if I can sew and I can follow directions, I should be able to do it, but then I can't really. They're fine horizontal, but when you put them vertically, it doesn't exactly line up. It still looks fine, and the whole idea was, okay, when my daughter was little, she went to sleep on her stomach, and so you didn't have to do all this tummy time. And now they don't let babies sleep on their tummy. So they lack that time on their stomach to do all that lifting the head and all that. So you have to do time every day to be sure that they're on their tummy. Well, my grandson, of course, you know, I was watching him and I did this every day, but he was a spitter. He spit up, oh my goodness, you won't even believe it. And so we went through about 2 to 3 of these a day. So I thought she can use lots of stuff to put him on, her on the floor and do the tummy time. So I thought I would make a little quilt. The colors in it, there's pink, there's green, the blue, there's gray, there's purple, there's yellow. Is that 1, 2, 3? There's 6 colors. And I bought the gray to do there's sashing along the edge, and then it's going to be bound off with the gray, so that'll frame it up. And I purchased some gray minky fabric for the back because I love this. It's soft, and I put it on the back of my grandson's quilt, and he loves it. So that's going to be on the back, which looks a little dark. See, once I got it, I thought, oh, it's kind of dark. Maybe I should have gone with pink. But I already bought a lot, so I'm probably going to put that on the back unless it shows through. I can't make my sandwich of fabrics yet because I do have some cotton batting, but it's the creamier kind, and this is white, so I know there's a white. I want to get the white, and hopefully you can't see that gray through. If you can, I'm going to have to go with another color, and I'll be a little disappointed there, but I'm going to have to do it. So that's what I'm working on, this baby quilt, which is probably just my size. And the fabrics, excuse me, I dropped the label I wanted to be able to show. This is where I purchased it on Etsy. It was Pomegranate Place, and I can't really read, but it's on Etsy, and I will link it below if you like those fabrics. And I think I bought the yardage for the back at the same time, along with the 2 charm packs, I think they're called. The next bit of sewing that I did was I took a sewing class this past weekend at my local quilt shop, Susie's Quilts, or Susie's Quilt Shop. I'll put it down below me to make sure that I get the name right. And I took a class with Kelly. It was a class to make a bag. I had seen the bag in the shop along with the information about the class and thought, you know, wouldn't that be fun to take a class and make this little bag? because I think it's fun to take a class with other people. You just pick up little things that you might not, and get little ideas you might not ever have otherwise. But also my mother had said when I was back visiting in March that she wanted a bag she could just throw her wallet and things in and go put across, so when she takes her walk she would have that, and just something small. This is the bag. It's called the Serendipity Hip, and you can see it there. This pattern, all of this is the pattern. This is a detailed photo tutorial. You wouldn't need to take a class to make it if you have maybe just advanced beginner skills, maybe intermediate. You can purchase this, and the website is chriswdesigns.com, and I will put a link to this so you buy it online and print out the pattern, and there's a list of materials on the website so you can look through and see what you need. And I will show you the one that I made. I had this quilting fabric in this print and then this print, so I put that as the contrast, and I went with purple as a zipper color because I did not have this blue in the large bag zipper. This pattern does not call for the handbag zippers. It calls for regular dress zippers, but I don't care for that as much as this heavier duty zipper. They just seem to work better for me. But you need the small. I put the small one here, and you'll see I got it in a little bit crooked, so I'll just show you that. One of my many mistakes. But it's a cool bag. It has this pocket here in front with a zipper, and then right behind it is a slip-in pocket, so a non-zippered pocket. And then the top zips open with this curved design, and inside is another zippered pocket. And this is going to be really hard to show, but can you see here? It has 3 little places that you can slide your driver's license or your credit cards or some money into. So they're patch pockets, but it's one on top of the other. And then on the other side, it has a cell phone pocket, and then some space down inside. It's real narrow. So they say the approximate size is about 8 inches wide, about 10 inches tall, and about 1 3/4 inches deep. So I really like it. It has the handles are connected. One's on one side of the zipper, one's on the other. And it has the slider that makes it adjustable. And I cut my handle shorter. She gave you a range, but my mother's only 5'1" or 2. Well, she says 2, but I'm pretty sure by now she's 5'1" or less. And so she doesn't need a long handle. If I had made it for myself, I would have gone with, being 5'6", I would have gone with the longest handle version, especially after I tried this on, because I would want mine a little bit longer. But I had just done it that way because I was making it for her. So that was loads of fun, and you had to prep everything in advance and walk in with, of course, your fabrics all cut. Your pattern, the pattern has pattern pieces, so cut all the pattern pieces and just pin or clip your pattern piece to the fabric pieces. Fuse all your interfacing, and there's just a little bit of fleece on a couple of pieces, and have that all fused and all your materials ready to go for class. And the class went from 10:30 till 4:30. I was done at 4, so it did take, you know, the day, and took just a very short minute to eat some lunch so that I could keep going. So that was lots and lots of fun. If you're in the Manassas area, Kelly teaches lots of classes at Susie's Quilt Shop. I'm thinking, well, I'm not just thinking about it at this point. I have not gone and signed up for it yet, but I'll be doing that this weekend. There is another bag. It is a pattern, Bags by Emmeline, and I forget the name of it, but it has 2 zippers on the top, and the zippers, that part folds over, and it has a single strap going across. I just ordered the PDF pattern and the hardware that you need for it. I'm going to go pay for the class, and I need to figure out what fabric I'm going to use, but I want to make that. It looked like fun again to just make a really nice looking bag. There was a giveaway going on through the YouTube comments, and we had a lot of people comment on what they would like in their Notions pouch. Had a lot of interesting suggestions, and one that was more unusual was or I only heard once, was a device where you count your wraps so you can tell what size yarn you have. And so I did purchase one on Etsy, so that will be going in the Notions pouch. Somebody wanted an elf to weave in the ends. I can't find one anywhere. I checked Amazon, Etsy, just Googled it, and if somebody can tell me where to buy one, I'll be happy to add it to the Notions pouch. I have a counter. Counters were mentioned frequently. Tapestry needles to weave in ends. That crochet hook might have been mentioned the most, and I have that little Susan Bates tool that is inexpensive but worth more than its weight in gold. I have some stitch holders, a little pair of snips, some just plain old ring stitch markers, because some people, those are their favorites, the little things to hold your knitting on when you put in the bag so it doesn't fall out. Another unique thing was a yarn threader, and I found this really cute antique looking, I don't know what I'm saying, forget that. This Made by Clover yarn threader, so you have that little piece that comes out. I thought that was really cute. And I had another pair of little snips that have a protective end so you don't stab yourself. A tape measure. I cannot tell you how many of those I have. It's over 10. It's never where I think it's going to be. A lotion bar I have here. This is from Love Plus Leche, and it is lavender mint, and it has a little bee design on it. And another row counter, the little electronic kind that you put on your finger, if that works for you. A row and stitch gauge tool. And let's see. Oh, a teensy tiny pair of snips that also are protected on the end. And then some stitch markers that I did. I've got these with pink with a little carriage on it, and another little single stitch marker. And something else that was a good one was a Band-Aid, but I didn't put it in here yet. I wanted to put a little pack of Band-Aids, but I might not. If I can't find that little pack of Band-Aids, I'll just throw a Band-Aid in. And somebody said an emery board, and I wanted one in plastic, and I never could find one. I didn't want it to look like, I just grabbed it out of a pack. But then, I'm one of those people who loves to collect all the little things that they give you in hotels, and I keep them in a basket. I don't know why. I never use them, but sometimes I put them in the guest bathroom if somebody's coming, but they never use them either. So there was a little pouch, and it had this wrapped up emery board. So I think that's mostly, I read every comment and it wrote down anything that I heard, and if I heard something new, I added it. Oh, some chocolate. I will add some little goodies in there. So anyway, the winner from YouTube Comment Picker is Sabrina S. So Sabrina, if you are on Ravelry, you can send me a private message on Ravelry to let me know which pouch you wanted. There was that clamshell version, I guess I'm going to say plain old version, and then the little Luli pattern that makes like a little box and folds over pattern. So which one you want, and your full name and mailing address so that I can mail it to you. And I don't know how to do picking your own fabric. So if there's something, a color that you like, or if you saw something that you know I could do, tell me that, because I'd be happy to do that if I have the fabric. And congratulations, Sabrina. Thanks so much for answering, and thank you all for all of your wonderful comments. It was really fun to read through all of those as they came in. And then I also wanted to start 2 make-alongs. The first one, because I'm knitting all this baby stuff and making all this baby stuff, let's do a baby make-along. We did one before. We'll start one now. I don't know how long to make it run, but I am thinking October. Sometime in October we'll have it run through. So I'll start 2 new threads, a chatter thread and a finished object thread. And if you don't chatter in the finished object thread, that would be appreciated, including, you know, just be careful, because if you delete it, it's the same as if you just leave it, because it still keeps that number. So if you do accidentally do it there, don't delete it, let somebody read it, but try not to put any chatter in there, but have that in the chatter thread. So that'll be our first one. The prize will be, I don't know, something, we'll come up with something, but if you're knitting baby things, go ahead and put them there. And then the other one I wanted to start was a commercial sock yarn sock knit along or crochet along. And that is, oh, I didn't say, for the baby one, that can be sewing, knitting, crochet, weaving, whatever you are going to do, and make it 50 grams of yarn. And if it's smaller than that, like my little booties, then just like, I'm going to put the booties with the sweater. So just put it together so that it's not just like, you know, something that took an hour and a half and then somebody else is putting something in that took them three weeks to make. Just, you know, to kind of keep it in that idea that it's something complete and took a little bit of time to do. So the sock thing, any commercial sock yarns, I know here in the US you can get and I think it's Canadian yarn, but I don't know if it's Patton's or Peyton's Croy. That's one that's commercial. There's the Debbie Norville, that's another one we can get at like Michael's and Joann's. Lion Brand has a commercial sock yarn. Regia, Opal, Lang has some that are commercial. Javel, anything that, you know, usually if they come in one of those balls that you pull out of the center that has the band around it, like this, if they're like this, oh, Knit Picks makes the Felici. If they're put up like that, there's usually what's a commercial sock yarn. I'm talking about not indie dyed yarns, just because, you know, I have so much of that stuff and I want to knit through it, and you might too. And so I thought, let's do a commercial sock yarn, knit or crochet along. So I'm gonna start those 2. I might not get to it today, but by tomorrow I'll try to be sure and have all 4 of those threads up. And thanks so much for watching. You know, I don't have anything today for Nobody Asked Me. My mind just actually didn't think about it until I sat down to podcast, and you know, this brain just doesn't work very fast anymore. So nothing's going to come up to me on the spot, I can guarantee you. So I appreciate you watching today. Thanks so much, and I hope you'll come back again soon. Bye-bye.